at the source of it all.
Oh,
You know, and so what I was going to say, in addition to what Spider has said, is that we need to go to a deep politic. We need to realize that not only is it sad that we're scared to death and don't want to go there, but it's also a collective thought disorder that's gripped this country, and a mind lock that really does separate us from our feelings and the facts, so that we don't want to look at the facts.
Yeah, and they don't, unless people read alternative media, they don't get any of the correct information. I mean, how many people have you seen without legs or arms on television where they've done stories about?
None. As far as the mainstream media is concerned, yeah, it's been a bloodless war, you know.
They don't talk about how much
Well,
it's
there
going to
for a
cost
while,
to
they didn't even want to show any coffins.
coffins, right? Yeah. Coffins. And so the cost of the war.
I think Bush had something to do with that.
Oh, yeah, Bush had something to do
American
with
people
a lot
see
of
the
stuff.
coffins.
And then I wanted to ask also, how far after the invention of the printing press did the Industrial Revolution start?
The printing press was first first used for a mass activist type of
Martin
thing.
Luther
Martin
was
Luther,
one,
yes.
yeah.
Martin Luther. So it was like the 1400s.
1492?
1492. The Industrial Revolution started in like the 1800s, like the mid 1800s. Yeah.
See, I think we need to look at the whole epistemology of conspiracy. It's really, if we don't understand what a conspiracy is and how it works, then we really get lost in the whole shuffle, because how do we recognize that, you know, what's happening here? Almost everything that happens to us on a daily basis is a conspiracy, and yet it's been demonized. Somehow it was okay to think about conspiracies during the Communist Cold War era, but suddenly it's wrong to talk about conspiracy because you're a conspiracy nut, right?
It's like a bad word.
Yeah, so you're demonized. And in the same way, so what happens, you know, Spider mentioned the 4th century, by the way, 313. Constantine and, you know, Christianity and the state became one, right?
Yes.
And so if you speak out, you're part of the problem, you're part of the conspiracy that they want to be pointed at. If you believe that, it's like the medieval whole concept. If I say it's not true, and I'm going to burn you in the Inquisition if you say it is. So, you know, there's no evidence that backs up the official story. But conspiracy, there are two conspiracies, as David Ray says. The official conspiracy and the real facts. And, you know, you have to choose which one has evidence. But I still think you're right, Spider. I think, you know, this threshold thing is really an important piece because the immediate, nobody wants to be concerned about anything unless it affects their most immediate part of their life. If I can go home tonight and eat dinner and everything, why should I worry? Who, me worry?
That's what I tell the kids at our company. You guys, you're 35, you're 25, you're 18, whatever. You kids would be out in the streets waving signs if we had a draft and they were going to grab you and send you over there.
That's right, until it happens.
That you don't care now because they're not going to do that to you.
Something you immediately made me think of when you mentioned a draft is I don't think that they're going to have one. If you look at what's going on with our economy, I mean, we're looking at a serious redistribution of wealth, just like the planned implosion of our economy in 1929. Okay, if that happens, you'll have a poverty draft. And I think that's what they're counting on.
Well, the other thing is you don't need a draft if you have mercenaries.
I know, but I'm talking about there'll be massive numbers. I'm sorry to interrupt what you're saying.
If you're running the war with mercenaries, then you don't even have to worry about a national army.
Right.
You can give you citizenship if you go over there.
And people talk a lot about Blackwater, but like there's literally hundreds of companies just like Blackwater, and they're all more poorly organized. They're more illy equipped. They just hire anybody who's willing to pull a trigger. And Blackwater's a scary thing that's happened post 9/11. I mean, you have armies up to the highest bidder. I mean, they're nothing more than Hessians.
Yeah,
you know,
that's exactly
to protect corporate interests.
Yeah,
and that goes back a long way because Stephen Kinzer said in his book Overthrow that that's the basis of all of our overthrow, which goes back to our earliest history, is if we had some business people over in the Philippines saying, hey man, these people are taking over, and they go to Congress, and Congress reinterprets that as, you know, they're violating human rights, then we'll go in and attack them. We'll have the Spanish-American
Yeah.
War. You know, we did it in Hawaii, blah, blah, blah. And yet Stephen Kinzer comes to town, friends of the Iranians, and he doesn't even mention 9/11. And so I ask him, hey, how come you can't talk about 9/11? You can talk about all the other overthrows. Well, there's not enough evidence. So,
In other words,
you
he
know,
hasn't
there's...
read the book.
That brings up something that I want to touch on before we get off onto another topic, and that is the thing that has fascinated me about the issue of 9/11 almost from the very beginning. And I have to be perfectly honest with you. For the first couple of weeks, I just accepted what I saw in the news, and then I'd hear something and I'd say, "Wait a minute," and then those things started adding up. And after the first couple of months, I realized that I'd been hoodwinked. But the point I wanted to make is that this idea of a threshold concept and the fact that the majority of people in this country won't go beyond a certain point, and yet you can look at history and you can see evidence of massive malfeasance on the part of governments all over the world. So certainly this government's no exception. I wanted to touch on this idea of conspiracy a little bit, in that if you confront somebody that calls you a conspiracy nut, the first thing that I would like to have you say to them is, A, the official story is a conspiracy theory. The official story is a conspiracy theory of 19 men with box cutters who got on planes and took the planes over and defied all of our air defenses, knocked down 2 buildings and hit the Pentagon. So, you know, whoever you're talking to, force them to look at that, because it's so easy. They think they can dismiss you by calling you a conspiracy nut. And the reason they do that is because the mass media has, as Barry pointed out, demonized the word conspiracy. It's a legitimate word. It's still in the dictionary.
Oh yeah.
It means more than one person getting together and planning something. And
Planning an
people are
illegal
tried
act, yeah.
every day in court for
Yes.
conspiracy. So the mass media has really stirred the pot on this and made it very difficult for anybody who wants to intellectually question authority to do so and have what I referred to earlier as a legitimate discussion, you know, an intelligent discussion about this issue. And I think 9/11, I started to say, fascinates me more than any other, because, as Barry just said, you can get intelligent people to talk about, you know, things that have happened in history, other conspiracies, but for some reason when it comes to 9/11, it's like.
And when I got up to the concourse level, it was just like, you know, like gunfire, and then just 3 big explosions.
And even the turnstile was burnt and was sticking up, and they just told us to run.
I heard the first explosion, and the elevator blew up.
And as we were coming out, we passed the lobby. There was no lobby. So I believe the bomb hit the lobby first, and a couple of seconds then the first plane hit.
Firefighter John Schroeder arrived in the lobby of the North Tower shortly after the first plane struck.
So we're standing there in the lobby, we're getting all together. All of a sudden, we hear... I look down to my right, and the elevators exploded, something out of like a Bruce Willis Die Hard movie. People just come running out of the elevators, on fire, fireballed. I mean, it was like, what is going on here? Something's up here. I mean, the plane's up there, now there's fire down here. People run around all on fire. This is crazy. I mean, them windows were like as thick as spaghetti. They were 2-3 inch glasses. You know, come on. They exploded out of the lobby. You know, something. It wasn't from the jet fuel. No way. The elevators exploded. They were down from the lobby. The lobby was over here. That should never have happened. Something would happen there, and that wasn't. We came down. It looked like a bomb went off in the lobby. There was no fire. It just looked like a bomb went off.